So on that agenda, we're going to start with some item authoring enhancements. So we have templates, which is quite a big new feature, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely.
Also looking at how the spreadsheet import has been enhanced. Before looking at the latest updates to tasks. So we've been developing quite heavily in tasks recently, but we're just going to sort of whip you through some of the newer features of that. Before looking at some features to do with how you can customize quite heavily the way that media and content is presented to candidates. And then we're going to close off with looking at feature to do with associating subjects with sensors. So it's something you can already do, but there's a new way of doing it that's massively time saving. It's for administrators. Okay, are you ready to help us out with all this stuff?
I certainly am, Jack.
So if we start off with templates,
yeah.
Can you please show us and talk to us about that?
Absolutely. So I think most important thing with templates to get out of the way first is that they're split into two. Okay, so there's the concept of an item template and a component template.
Yeah.
So an item template is when you create a template that item authors can then create very similar items from very, very quickly. Okay, so if you have a question that has very, very similar wording to other questions, you could just create a template and then use that item template to quickly create those similar items.
Makes sense.
And then you've got component templates, which the best way to think of it is as parts of items rather than a whole item itself.
Yeah.
So if there's a specific text box that you want to insert into all of your questions or all of your essay questions, for example, you can create a component template and then easily insert that into whatever question it is that you have.
Okay.
Yeah. Important thing to remember as well is that they are only available for HTML subjects.
Right.
So if you want to use templates, all the functionality you're about to see, you have to be using HTML subjects.
Okay. Before we get started on how to create them, can anybody create these templates?
Not everybody can create them. Right. Everybody can use them. So the way that it works is there's also a new permission in 12.19 called Template Manager. And only users with the Template Manager permission are able to create item and component templates. Right. However, once they are created, you're able to use those any item author can use those templates to create new items or insert component templates.
Okay.
So they're available for every user with item authoring permissions within your instance.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So the way that you actually create them, there's a new tab that lives within item authoring now. So over on the right hand side, we've got templates here. And once you open this up, you'll see there's two tabs within that. So we've got item templates on the left and component templates on the right. So again, the difference between them, item templates for entire items, components are for parts of items. Now with item templates, there is a sort of folder management system that will look very familiar if you've worked in subjects before. So you have all of your available templates here, you can drag to move them, you can duplicate them, delete them, all that good stuff.
So it's the same sort of tree structure as in standard subjects at the moment?
Yeah, exactly the same, yeah. If you want to create a new template though, you go over to the Create New Template button up at the top left. And these are all of the different item types available for item template creation. So for today, if we have a look at essay question and click on essay, and this will create a new item template. And you'll notice this looks very, very similar if you've ever seen item authoring before, right? Yeah. So much of the same settings. There's a few things missing, but generally identical. So you give your item template a name to start with. So if we go with 12.19 webinar essay template, and then you start adding the content to the template. So again, this is for if you have lots of items with very, very similar wording or structure, that's when you would use an item template. Yeah. So say I am an exam board and I'm creating an English exam or items for an English exam, and I know that all of my essay questions are going to have this common wording. Okay, so I can start adding it to this box. So explore how the author presents the theme of, and say I want to give a little bit of wiggle room for my authors to kind of customize that question a bit. So I can add a blank in there, add a question mark.
Right. So it's generic enough, but it gives them something to sort of customize. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Then I'd continue creating this template as I would create any other item. So I can set my word limits for essay questions. I'll enable the diagram creator if I want to. You can also set what the default media layout will be. So if an item author, you can't add media to a template, but if an item author does add media, it will default to whatever it is that you select here.
Okay.
They can change that as well
Yeah.
if it's not appropriate for the question.
So they can change all this stuff, it's going to default to all these things when they create the item from this template.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's saving clicks, it's saving effort for your item authors.
Yeah.
And as you go down, so you can add tools. There's also a few item settings available for the template. So item purpose, marking type, also sneak preview of later on. Item duration and item content delay are also available, but we'll get to those a little bit later.
Okay.
So if you're happy with your item, you think this, or rather this template, you think it's all good, you can then change the status to live up at the top.
Right. So similarly to items,
yes.
It's all workflow status, so you don't want somebody to come in and change a template to live if it's not really good enough. You want somebody to review it maybe first.
Yeah, exactly. Now the important thing to remember is when you set an item template or a component template to live, as I said earlier, it's available for all of the item authors in that instance.
Yeah.
So because it is such a big thing setting this to live, we've added a kind of extra authorization step just to make sure that, right, you're aware that this is going to be available for everybody. So make sure that this template is, as you want it to be.
Yep.
So you click yes, and that updates its status.
Okay.
And that's your template good to go.
Is there an audit trail for creating templates? Similarly to how we have the item history for items.
Yeah. It's really important, isn't it? So yes, we've got the item history down here. So it works the exact same way as it does for items. So any kind of small changes, kind of large version changes, there's an audit trail available in item history down at the bottom right.
Cool. And is any other functionality that's similar? So I can see we still have the feedback and comments buttons.
Yes, yeah, that's a good point actually. So the item comments, when you add comments at this stage, at the template creation stage, it's important to remember you're adding them to the template. So any comments you add at this point won't carry through to the items that you actually create. Okay, so I might put in here, right, and we can check on this in a minute. If I put, right, create template up here and save that, that's me adding a comment to this template. It's not going to pull through when I actually create something from that template.
So it's for you talking to other template creators, essentially.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Okay. So if I'm happy with all that, I can save it down at the bottom. And then, as I said, that template is now ready to be used by your item authors.
Okay. So if you can now put yourself in the shoes of an item author, can you show us how you would actually go about using that now? Absolutely.
So you need to navigate yourself back across to your subject. So we're going to be working in this comprehension subject today. So this is your standard item authoring screen. And you need to go to create new item. And you'll notice that we've added this new toggle up at the top left. So this first toggle, new item, this is what you're used to. This is how you've created items forever, right? But now if you switch across to from template, it'll show you all of the different template types that are available to you in this particular instance. So we just created an essay template, okay?
Yep.
So if we go down to the essay template here, it'll show you a list of all of your available templates. So these are all the templates that you've set to live.
Right.
Anything in draft won't appear in here.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you click on the template, and just to make sure that you're actually choosing the right template, there's a preview that loads over here, so you can see, right, is this what I'm looking for? Is this the the exact template?
Okay.
Select template, and then Surpass creates an item using all of that information that we've just created in our template, and we are free to sort of go wild and start customizing this item.
Yeah. So it's a new item now with a new ID. It's completely moved on from templates. Anything you edit with this item now, it's not actually editing a template. Like it's just a new.
This is now my item, so I can now change this. I can change the blank here. So say how the author presents the theme. We'll go for power in this extract, and then if I wanted to, so I said I was creating an English test, so I can then add some source material up here if I want. Let's see if we've got a nice extract to use. Okay, we've got Othello in here, so I can add that to the item, and then that's good to go. Okay, so that's mine now.
Okay, makes sense. So, a sort of question where explore how the author presents the theme of something might be quite a generic sort of question for loads of different people to use.
Yeah.
But you just by changing it ever so slightly with that one word and adding different source material every time, saving people a lot of time.
Yeah, incredibly easy.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And how about component templates then? How do they fit into this?
Yes, so you access them in the same way. So, or if you're a template manager, you do. So item authoring, and then there is the new templates tab within item authoring here. And you've got to switch over to the component templates tab on the right hand side. And it's a similar thing. Okay, so you can see all of your available component templates. And you use create new component template. So this looks like item authoring, but rather than creating a specific question, you're just customizing one text box. Right. And this text box, once you've finished customizing it, can be inserted into your question at any point. Okay. So if we stick with the essay question, for example, say there were a few bullet points, a few bits of information that you wanted every single essay question to use. So you'd start entering it here. So in your answer, make sure to refer to what do you have to do in English GCSEs? Make sure you refer to the author's use of language, how the text is structured, and then the specific form of the extract. Okay. And then that component is good to go. I can insert it into whichever item.
Yeah, so that's sort of saving item authors from having to remember all those things if they didn't remember.
Yeah, this is the thing, because I mean, it saves you time, but I think possibly the more important thing is accuracy as well. Right?
Yeah.
You don't want anybody entering these bullet points incorrectly, especially in high stakes exams. And so if you know that, right, if your item authors are using the component that you've authored, then
puts the onus on you really as the boss a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Cool.
There's a couple of other things that are worth mentioning. So as with any HTML text box in Surpass, you do have the advanced options here.
Right.
So we've done an English example, but if we did have maths, we've got kind of sub and superscript. We've got the Iris editor here if you wanted to sort of add kind of mathematical equations to a component.
Yep.
Also, if you are whizzy with this sort of thing, there is the source button here.
Right.
So if you've got some kind of complex HTML that you've created elsewhere, you can just paste it straight in here, and Surpass will format that for you, and you can see what that would look like.
Okay. And you can insert these into any text box on an item case, so not just question text, but also maybe like the answer options or the feedback boxes and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So I'm happy with my component. Again, set its status to live, and there's that additional authentication step again, because it is obviously quite a big thing. It's available for everybody, all of your item authors. So you sure you want to update status? Yes. Save it down at the bottom, and then your component template is ready to be used in whichever item it is you want to actually insert it into. So if we then navigate across to our subject, just make sure this is actually saved. There we go. So we can go across to the subjects here, and we can start using this component. So comprehension, if we just put it into the item we created earlier from the template, so 1219 webinar essay template. So this is what we created earlier. So I can now, if I wanted to, I can add a new text area. And the way that you actually get those component templates in is through the advanced option again. You'll see this new templates button.
Right.
So you click on this, and this is a list of all of the...
is it all ones set to live again?
Yes, all of the component templates that are set to live and ready to be used.
Yeah.
So I think ours was my component template 3. So I can then click on it, click add, and you'll see that it's inserted that component template into this text box, ready to go.
Okay, makes sense. So the fact you added a new stem there to put that in, what happens if I wanted to put it into the first box? Would that override all of that that's in there? Or? No,
not all. So in fact, I will demonstrate it for you. So if I just remove this box here, move back to my first question stem, so I can just add a couple of spaces, same process. So templates, find my template, add, and you see it adds it at the point of the cursor, right? Okay. So there's no worry about overwriting anything.
So if you spent ages writing a big question stem, you could stick something right in the middle if you'd forgotten to add that as a table, for example.
Yeah, okay. Exactly.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. And that's templates.
Yeah, and I was going to help notice what you were doing that as well. If you go onto the Create New Item menu,
yes.
So I believe the item set has moved location as part of this.
Eagle-eyed,
Jack. Yeah, I know.
So previously, item sets used to live within the tree structure, within the kind of subject organization up here. But we thought, because item sets have functionality beyond just organization, we've instead moved them to create the Create New Item menu. So when you click on Create New Item, you'll see down here, this is where you add your item set now. So that'll create it within the tree structure, and you can start adding your items.
So I'm assuming as part of that now, then we also have item set templates as well as item templates.
Yes, we do. So you can see here in the From Templates section of Create New Item, item sets here. So you could create an item set template, and then if you want to kind of go a level deeper, you can add templates within templates. And so if you kind of bring that item set template in, then it will bring in all of those items, right? So if you know that, say you have question 1A, 1B, 1C, and it's a multiple choice, an essay, and then a multiple response, and they're always going to appear together, you could create an item set template, add your multiple choice, essay, and multiple response templates within that, and you can just pull all three of those in easily and start customizing them.
Okay. In what is essentially a couple of clicks, you'd have put in your free item templates in an item set template. Okay.
Dead easy.
Okay, makes sense. Okay. Well, thanks for that. So that's templates, quite a big feature, I think we'd agree. Hopefully a lot of people get some use out of that. So if we move on to our second item of an enhancement, we have the enhanced spreadsheet import. So at the moment you can currently import items using a spreadsheet, but it only supports multiple choice, multiple response, and either or question types. But I believe we can add quite a few more things now on top of this.
Yeah, it's a really popular feature, and it's gotten even better with this release, frankly.
Cool.
Just to remind you how to actually access the spreadsheet import in case you don't know, it's done through the Create New Item menu here, and it's import items from other sources. So when you go into there and click on it, it'll select spreadsheet by default, and then there is the download sample XLS option. So when you click on that, it will download an example of the type of spreadsheet you want to import. So if I just open that up now, you can see what it actually looks like. So important things to remember, there's two worksheets within this sample spreadsheet, okay? So if you look down at the bottom left, there's item list and help and guidelines. So by default, the spreadsheet import opens onto help and guidelines. And this worksheet contains everything you need to know about how to use spreadsheet import. So it tells you which of the fields are mandatory, which you need to fill in for multiple choice questions, all of that stuff, okay? So if you ever do try and import something and it doesn't work, your help and guidelines will sort of guide you towards the correct answer, okay?
Yeah, I think those mandatory columns with the red writing are quite important, aren't they? Because it's a spreadsheet with quite a lot of columns, seems quite daunting to begin with, but it depends how much detail you want to put into the items. You only really need a couple of columns to get stuff in there and get started. Completely. If you didn't want to do it all in a spreadsheet.
And if you do try and import it and it doesn't work, and there is a really handy kind of report that Surpass generates that'll tell you exactly which columns you need to change, what's gone wrong, and it's dead easy to fix.
Cool.
So that's help and guidelines. However, most of your work is done in item list. So the default spreadsheet, it comes with a kind of an example item already filled in. I've already created a spreadsheet just so you're not watching me edit spreadsheets for 10 minutes. So if I just go across to that, and so I filled this in to really show off all of the new features to spreadsheet import. So the first big one then is item set support. So previously, if you wanted item sets, you'd need to create it within Surpass, then import your items, then move them into the item set. Whereas that entire process can now just be done from the spreadsheet.
Right.
So this top column here, where it says import item set test, this is my sort of item set that I'm importing. So for item sets, there's not many mandatory fields. You've got to give it a name. So this is the name that will appear when you're in your subject. And if we scroll all the way across, there is the type column here. Right? And in there, you've just got to enter item set, all one word, and then that will make sure that it imports this as an item set.
Okay, sounds easy enough.
Dead easy. I've also created a couple of multiple choice questions in my spreadsheet, just to show off how you actually add items to item sets. So I've added my question text and my answer options. Then I need to go across to the item set column. Now what you need to do in here is you need to enter the name of your item set exactly. So you'll see here that my item set name was import item set test, and I've entered that exactly the same with my other questions down here. And what that will do is make sure that when I import this spreadsheet, that all of the items that I've created are put into that item set.
Okay.
If say I delete it from this question down at the bottom, these 4 would be part of the item set, and this one would just be imported outside of it.
Makes sense.
Yep. So that's item sets. So the next thing that's quite a big deal is information pages. So previously you couldn't import information pages using spreadsheets. Now you can. Similar to item sets, so you need to give your information page a name. You also need to fill in, the text that's going to appear on your information page. Again, this is just what you'd usually enter in that first text box in item authoring. And then again, if we move over to the type column, you just need to enter information page, all one word, and that will make sure it imports it as an information page.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the new types, you have item set, information page, and it looks like we've got essay there as well.
Yeah, exactly. An essay is done exactly the same. So give it a name, enter your question text, essay as the type, and you're good to go.
And so if you didn't put anything in the type column, so it looks like on your MCQs you didn't need to do that because you already filled in the answer options and correct options.
Exactly.
So it just assumes that it's...
Yeah, so it uses whatever's entered into the other columns to determine whether it's a multiple choice question.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is item sets, information pages, and essay pages.
Yeah.
But there is one more thing that's new with the spreadsheet import, and that's support for custom tag categories.
Custom tag groups.
Yes. So you can, if we have a look actually.
So I believe at the moment you can do default tag groups, can't you?
Yes. Yeah. So as spreadsheet import stands at the moment, you can do learning outcomes, keywords, and units, which are the sort of custom ones. But now, if you have created custom tag groups, then you can add them to the spreadsheet as well.
Yep.
So to do that, by default, the last column in the spreadsheet import is show rationale. But you can, if you scroll over to the next column, you can then start adding your custom tag categories and values in here. Custom tag groups, sorry, to be clear. So all you need to do then is go to the header in the spreadsheet, and you need to enter custom tag underscore and then the name of your tag group. Okay. So in this case, I know that I've got a tag called Bloom's Taxonomy. So I enter that in there, and then for all of my items in that column, I can just enter the tag valued.
Okay. So does the custom tag group need to exist in item authoring and set up before you can do this? Okay.
Yeah, you need to have kind of done a little bit of prep work, but this process is much easier than...
And what if I wanted to add more than one tag value to each tag group for each item? How would I go about doing that?
Yeah, so as long as the tag group is set up to allow more than one value, then you absolutely can do. All you need to do then is, and I've got another tag group here, is enter a tag value, then a space, and then the pipe icon, and then enter your next tag value after that. And then when we import this spreadsheet, it will have both tag values attached to it. Okay.
Cool. And all this information is on the help and guidelines sheet as well, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So it's all in here. It'll tell you exactly how to use it in there.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So do you want to see it imported?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's go for it. So just save this to make sure all my changes are good to go. Move back over to my instance of Surpass. So this is the screen that we were left on. So again, you get to this create new item import, and then click on the import button, and it will open up your file explorer. So find wherever you've saved your spreadsheet, click on it, open, and then it will begin the import process. So this will kind of, as you can see, there's a progress bar, and as this goes through, it'll tell you which of your items have been successfully imported. So all 6 of ours are good to go. This is where if the import didn't work and say 2 of your items did fail, you can use the view report button, and that downloads a spreadsheet that tells you exactly where you've gone wrong, what you need to change.
It's useful.
Yeah, and you can see that there's a new folder, Enhanced Spreadsheet Import, with the item set that we created, all of the questions. I can open those up, and if I scroll down, you'll see that the tag values, one for Bloom's Taxonomy, one for the level, they're all in there.
Lovely. So that's massively time saving, isn't it, if you're putting loads in at once? So like one use for that is there's the item owner column on the spreadsheet, and obviously now we have tasks and authoring tasks, and you're creating a big task with a big item list based on the owner. So you might import loads of items, possibly into item sets as well, using the spreadsheet, change the owner, and then you've got a really easy way to create your authoring tasks. Okay. We are just going to quickly cut to a community call out. Okay.
Hi, Tim Bennett here from the team here at BTL. I'm just going to drag you away for a few moments from Jack and Nathan's excellent presentation, just to tell you about a new initiative called Surpass Community Callouts. Now, obviously we're talking to you all the time about what we're doing with Surpass, but we want to help you communicate with each other, share information, share ideas, and if you've got something, a research project, or you need team members, or you want to get involved in something, or you've got some particular questions, then the opportunity is to use Surpass Community Callouts to really engage with each other. So I'm going to make a few announcements here, but if you've got any particular projects or information that you want to share with the community, then please do message Jack and Nathan or email me at callouts@surpass.com and we'll share those. So the first up we've got is Jarrett. Jarrett Dyer's been heading up a LinkedIn group called The Value of Testing. Now it's the idea being really is to share people's good ideas and imaginations as to what really is happening within the testing community and really build up people's appreciation of the brilliant work that we do. They're always on the lookout for posts and blogs and articles. So if you want to get involved in that, if you've got a particular strong feeling about the value of testing, what it's doing to the society, social mobility or anything like that, then please do have a look at the blog and get in touch with Jarrett directly, or you can come through via myself and let's get your articles up there. The E-Assessment Association also really is looking for articles and blog posts and contributions from the community. So perhaps you want to do a case study with us, or if you just want to go direct to the E-Assessment Association, if you aren't members, then I really recommend you join. Then that's a really good opportunity as well to just share and shout about all the best practice and the good things that are going on in the assessment community. Finally, just a few job notices. Prometric are on the lookout for some customer success managers, so please do have a look at the Prometric site if you're US based. But the other ones UK wise, we've got Gateway Qualifications looking for a product lead. Skills and Education Group are looking for a qualifications and assessment development manager. They're based in Nottingham, so if you're based in the Midlands, it's useful for you. Then potentially, if you're all the way up in the Newcastle area, then NCFE have a number of roles: development, customer service, and assessment opportunities as well. So they're always worth having a check out. If you've got any particular job opportunities you wanted to share, then please do get in touch. So I'm going to pass you back to Nathan and Jack now to continue the presentation. If you've got a call out, let them know. Otherwise, contact me at callouts@surpass.com. Nice speaking to you.
Hi, welcome back. Thanks lots, Tim, for that community call out. So moving on with these 1219 features, what we're going to look at now are enhancements to tasks. So as we said, we've covered tasks a lot really over the last couple of releases since it came out of beta functionality. There's an awful lot in there now, isn't there?
Yeah.
So we're not going to spend an awful lot of time on this. We're just going to look at what a couple of the latest changes are for tasks. So first off, we have the ability to change the order of an item list. So it's not explicitly in tasks, but it's more to do with how you prepare.
Yeah,
for a
so
task.
we have a screenshot on Jack's screen to demonstrate this one.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the screen that you get when you go to an item list, you click on edit item list, and you are presented with this.
Yeah, so the edit list is like a new button on the item list, yeah.
Yeah, and you'll see down the right hand side you have the sort panel. Mm-hmm. And what you can do there is you can set certain sorting criteria in order to rearrange your item list. Okay, so you might want to rearrange by kind of descending name and then by subject, and it has like a hierarchical sorting structure. So whatever you enter first, and you can see on the screenshot there's a kind of a black number one, and then it's the same in the column, and it will create a hierarchical sort based on those sort values. Yeah.
So previously you couldn't sort the items, put them in any kind of order in a list. It would just be you'd create the list, and then as you're using lists in tasks, you wouldn't actually be able to determine what the task assignees see first. Correct. Okay, and now you can.
Yep. Good stuff.
So I'm assuming based on the cog on the screen, you can customize the columns of your list.
Yeah.
So is what's in the drop down reflective of the columns you've got on your table?
Exactly. Yeah. So if there's a column that you want to sort by that you can't currently see, use the cog icon on the left, add that column, and then you can then add that sort value on the right.
Okay, makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, that's now an option. And then we also have the ability to add attachments to a task.
Yeah, so we'll just demo this on my screen.
Yeah.
Surprisingly enough, it lives in the Tasks tab up at the top. So you need to create a new task to get to task attachments. I'll just do a single copy review for now.
So this is for review and authoring tasks?
Yes,
Right,
yeah, okay. That's correct. So you set up a task in the usual way. So you give it a name, give it a reference, description and deadline, continue through, and then task settings is where the attachments live, okay? So you'll notice that there's a new attachment section here with a browse button. So when I click on browse in a second, it just opens up the Windows File Explorer and you can find whatever attachment it is you want to attach. So I think the use case for this is for, say if you are creating an authoring task and your organization has certain guidelines around questions about what can and should and can't be included, you could attach that guidance. So it makes sure that your item authors or your item reviewers know exactly what it is that they're doing, what exactly it is that they're working towards.
So it puts it on like a nice central location for them.
Exactly. So I've got some item review guidance here, so I can add this one, and this will appear in the table underneath. You can actually add multiple attachments to tasks, so I've got this item review guidance multiple choice here. I've got an essay one as well, so if I wanted to add that, and again...
So is there a limit as to how many you can put on a task?
30.
Up to 30 attachments?
Yes.
Seems like plenty, doesn't it?
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter what file types you use?
It does. There are some restrictions. I won't go into all of them here, but if you hover over the eye there, you can see, unless you want me to read all of those out.
No, I think the point is made there, yeah. Okay.
If you do want to remove any of them, if you've added anything by accident, you can just click on the cross and then that removes it from the attachment.
So you've attached these attachments to your task, created it, and you've assigned a user to the task. And then they come into tasks, they go to start their task. They can download all these attachments from there?
Yes, so there's a new button, which I'll show you in a second actually, that is download attachments, and it will download all of the attached files in a zip file, good for your kind of item authors and reviewers to look at.
Yeah. But before we have a look at that, I'm assuming you're going to show me how we can now have multiple lead assignees.
Yes, multiple lead assignees. This is quite a big one, I think. So if I just quickly continue creating this this task, so I'll just find the comprehension list that I created earlier.
So previously you could only assign one single lead assignee to a review and authoring task.
Yeah, exactly. Which it has its limitations, right? Like if you have one lead assignee and that lead assignee is off ill, especially for an extended period of time, that task just can't get fully completed, right? So now we've added the ability to have multiple lead assignees, as you say. So you get to the last stage of task creation, which is where you start assigning users to it. And if we just add the training user 1 and training user 2, in fact, we'll add a couple of demo users as well, just to really show it off. So you tick them in the assigned to thing for review tasks, and they appear in your table here. So now you can decide which of them are assignees, which are lead assignees, and which are both. Okay,
just for clarification, then, can you just remind us what the difference is between a standard tasks assignee and a lead assignee?
Yes, absolutely. So the way to think of it is just an assignee, they're the people that are kind of completing the work, right? So in an authoring task, they're the ones that are going into the blank item, filling it in, that sort of thing. Whereas a lead assignee is the sort of, the leader of those assignees, right? So lead assignees in review tasks, they make final decisions, they decide which changes should be promoted to the kind of main item. So yeah, they just kind of head up the team. So you decide who you want to be assignees. So let's say these guys, and then let's say these 2 are going to be lead assignees, and then you can also make training user 2 a regular assignee as well. So you can really customize and combine those tasks roles. And so this means that training user 1 and training user 2, the 2 lead assignees, will both have those responsibilities, the exact same responsibilities. They can approve items, submit items.
So like you said before, if only training user 1 was the only lead assignee and for whatever reason they couldn't complete the task, it'd been a bit of bother. But I suppose even if you just had a really large task with hundreds of items, it gives you the option to give more than one person the responsibility to sort that out.
Exactly.
Okay, so if you create that, can we now see the attachments come through?
Yes, absolutely. So the way that you actually access the attachments is just through the regular tasks screen. So you'll need to go to the tasks that are actually, well, actually, no, you can see it from this one. So we've got the task that we've just created. You'll see there's a new button down at the bottom right, download attachments.
Right.
So when you click on that, it'll download a zip file, which will contain all of the attachments that you've just added to your task.
So the assignee doesn't have to do anything extra. They just come in, see they've been assigned a task, and all the information is there, including the files. That
Exactly. And if you haven't attached any files to it, this button is just grayed out, so the assignee knows for sure that they don't need to kind of take any more steps.
Okay. And the last thing then to do with tasks is the fact that item sets are now supported.
Yeah.
So this is in the sense that not that they weren't supported in a way before. So if you had a couple of items in there before and they were in an item set, you'd still be able to see the items, but the tasks assignee wouldn't necessarily know that they're part of an item set.
Exactly. So yeah, you've got the screenshot on your screen here, and so you'll see the breadcrumb down the left-hand side. It indents them in the same way that it does in in delivery. So you can tell that items are part of an item set now, which is good.
Okay, and so also because you have the little item set icon on the item set itself, means people in tasks can now edit the actual item set level settings as well.
Yes, they can. Yeah.
Okay, so that includes like all the tags on an item set and the randomization settings.
Yeah, adding source material, all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, that's the latest stuff that we've added to tasks. Okay, next we're going to look at item duration.
Yeah.
So I think it's quite an exciting one.
Yeah, this is a really interesting one, I think. So if I just open up the item that we created earlier from our template. So just to remind everybody, previously with Surpass, test timings were dictated on a kind of test form level, weren't they? So you could have your test timer, where it's like, right, this is a 30-minute test. You could have timed sections, so 3 10-minute sections. Or you could have untimed tests as well, couldn't you? So item duration is a kind of a different approach to how you navigate candidates through a test and how long they actually have, where you set, rather than just setting a whole test timer or a section timer, you can really drill down and get specific item timers now, right? So we've got this essay question that we created earlier, and say we only want this question to be 30 minutes long, right? We want to make sure that candidates have no more than 30 minutes on it. So what we can do is open up our question, go right down to the bottom to those two settings that we had a look at earlier. So item duration.
Okay.
So you click on edit item duration, and by default it'll be set to untimed. So that is all of your items that already exist, they will be untimed. This won't affect anything.
Just standard as they were before this feature.
Exactly. Now if you click on timed though, all of these options are enabled as well. So there's a few presets. So just to speed things up, if you know that you're going to have lots of 10-minute questions, you can click on 10 minutes. Or you can enter a custom time as well. So say this is a 45-minute essay and we only want candidates to have 45 minutes. We can enter 45 up here and then save changes. And then that item is a 45-minute item. Okay. So what happens, I'll show you what the delivery bar looks like if you'd like, so you can preview it here. And then once the item loads, you will see there's a kind of text version of it and also a depleting bar, as you can see here, right? So you've got the text here and then the bar that is, I should probably set a smaller time limit, but that bar is depleting, right?
Yeah, sure.
And what happens, the effects that has in delivery is once that bar fully depletes, the candidate is automatically moved on to the next question.
Right.
They can finish the item before. If they finish this item in half an hour,
there's nothing stopping them from moving on. Anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I suppose 45 minutes is a relatively long time, but probably not for an essay. But if you had, I don't know, sort of quick firing questions where you were giving the candidates 5 minutes and that bar was depleting quite quickly, I guess it's the opportunity is there to create quite an authentic test, really.
Yeah, definitely. I think for situations where you've got to respond under pressure, I always think back to like mental maths exams at primary school where it's like read a question, you've got 10 seconds and the next question's here. I think that would be a perfect use case for it.
So any sort of situation where the candidate might be needing to deal with stuff under pressure maybe could be an example.
Sure.
Okay, cool. And how does this actually behave if so obviously you said how you have tests with different timing settings and time sections and so on. So how does this behave in conjunction with those? So if I had maybe a time section of half an hour, and I put 5 or 6 items in there that were all 5 minutes each, how would it behave?
The timer that expires first dictates how the candidate is navigated through.
Okay.
So I've got this 45-minute essay. If I put that into a section with only 30 minutes, then once that 30-minute section timer expires, they're moved on.
Right. Okay.
So it's whatever expires first.
Okay.
So to be honest, I think a good way to use this would be actually in an untimed test, right?
Yeah.
So then the item duration is what dictates how candidates move through, and there's not that conflict that can arise if you mix and match.
Oh, okay. All right. And then following that, we have the setting that lives just underneath it, the new item content delay setting.
Yes, item content delay. So this controls when content is shown to candidates. Okay. So it's designed to be used with media generally, right? So let's, in fact, to demo it, let's add a video to this question. Let's see what we've got. A lighthouse video, lovely. Right. So if we add this video of a lighthouse to our item, and then we go down to item content delay and edit it. We've got a few options in here. So you've got the show when media ends option. Now what that will do, if we click it, is it will hide the question, source material, and answer options from the candidate until the video has finished playing. Right? So I can show you what that looks like. So if I just save those changes and then click on preview. So it's the same question that we were using previously. You'll see that we can then play this video and it'll play through if we just skip to the end actually.
So you're sort of forcing the candidate to watch this video before.
Exactly. You see the question is hidden and then it appears once the video is finished. So if there is a video or an audio file that you need candidates to make sure that that need them to engage with it, you can delay that. So there's nothing to distract them. They're not thinking about the question until that video has completely finished.
Okay. That makes sense.
There is another option within there as well, which is just delayed. So if you wanted the question to actually appear halfway through the video, you can just set a delayed option, right? And we could set that to 15 seconds, and then all of the content would be hidden until 15 seconds in, and then
okay, cool. And can you use these settings in conjunction with any item type?
You can use them with any item type. There is a few kind of special circumstances, especially with audio capture items.
Right.
So what you can do is set it so that your item begins recording as soon as the kind of the audio file starts playing for like live translation and stuff.
All right, so it'd be good for like language testing. So a candidate comes in, the video, they press play, and then, or it could be set to autoplay perhaps. So that's candidate presses play on the video, and then the audio recording starts recording straight away, because they might have to sort of, translate live basically. Which again is quite a realistic situation, isn't it?
Handy.
Okay. Yeah, cool. So sort of linking in with this, our next feature is to do with media player and the enhancements we've made to that.
So kind of similar to, I don't know if you remember the audio capture enhancements from 12.18, where we added a lot of options in there to hide certain buttons and change the behavior of audio capture items. And we've done the same thing for media, so specifically MP3 and MP4 files, right? So we've already added an MP4 to this item. So if we just click on additional options here, we've got these three new sections. So we've got media player mode, control options, and play options. And these, like I said, just change how media behaves in delivery. So if we set this to autoplay, what would happen is that the attached media, so the lighthouse video in this case, would begin playing as soon as the item loaded. So the candidate wouldn't choose when to play it, it'd just go, right? And what you can also do is hide media player controls. So with that ticked, it means that once that video is playing, the candidate can't pause it or rewind it or adjust volume and things like that. Right? Everything's hidden. Okay. Then there's also a third new option, which is limit media players. So you can set how many times a candidate can rewatch or re-listen to a video in this particular when you've added media. So if I set this to 2, they could play it once, play it again, and then it'd just prevent the candidate from actually replaying anything.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of kind of caveats with this. So if you are limiting the number of media players, you want to also be showing the media player controls.
Yeah.
Right.
So give them the actual buttons in order to do it.
Exactly, because if you hid the media player controls, then they wouldn't have a button to replay it. Okay.
Yeah. So to go back to that language testing example, which I think probably meant is more relevant to this feature than the one before in terms of the item content delay.
Sure.
But yeah, so obviously you'd limit, if you only want them to hear like somebody speaking in a foreign language twice, you'd obviously limit it to twice, wouldn't you? So
Yeah, exactly.
It's a really good use case for that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, perfect for live translation if you use it with an audio capture item, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So lastly, we have a feature for administrators, so centre subject associations. So at the moment, when you are in the setup area of Surpass, what we might call it the housekeeping area, so you're creating your centres, your subjects, users, candidates. At the moment, when you create a subject in Surpass, you have to associate it with a centre. You do this one at a time, basically. And it's possible to also share your subjects with centres, so you're giving the centre level users access to other people's subjects in a way. Whereas this new feature basically allows you to do it reversely, so you can do centres to subjects, to do like multiple at times.
Exactly. It was previously a really long-winded process where every subject that you wanted to associate with a centre, you need to go into that subject, find the centre, find the next subject. Whereas now, if you are in the Setup tab and then Centres, you choose the centre that you want, so BTL Training Centre, click on the Edit button, there's a new Manage Subjects button in there.
Okay.
So when you click on this, you are presented with these three tables.
Yep.
So the middle table then are the subjects that are associated with that centre at the moment, right? So you've got primary here. So these are the subjects that were associated with BTL Training Centre when BTL Training Centre was created, right? So they're your primary subjects. You also have the All Centres tab, so these are the subjects that have been shared with all centres, right? There are handy explanations of these if you hover over the particular tab as well.
Always helpful.
Always. Then if you go to Selected, you can choose specific subjects to then start assigning to this centre, right?
Okay.
So if we just choose a random subject, 25th of April, my birthday, don't forget it, move that over to the centre, you can then start customizing roles on the right-hand side.
Okay.
So BTL Training Centre users can then have certain permissions within the 25th of April subject.
Right.
So if you wanted them to only be able to see, let's say, test creation, you can tick that there. And then those centre level users for BTL Training Centre would also have test creation capabilities for that subject.
Right, so users don't necessarily need direct permission for that subject, just by virtue of being a centre level user at your BTL Training Centre. They're also going to have access to the test creation for that subject.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. And that was nice and easy. You could do that for many different subjects, massively time saving.
Yeah, previously, you'd have to go to every single one of these subjects, move it over, set up this saves a lot of time.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks, Nathan.
No problem.
For that. Okay, so that is all of our features for today, and you will be able to start using these shortly. And please look out for the release email, which will have some links on to some videos on how to use these features more in detail. If you have any questions, please get in touch with us as well. And this webinar will be available on the website as usual afterwards. So thanks a lot for watching.